So when you talk about existential threats, it's very easy to hype these up into something bigger and more aggressive towards all these big tech companies than might be warranted. There are three big topics going on. One is all of the big tech companies are starting to compete more directly with one another. You see that in the tensions between Apple and Facebook, for example. Second, we have a giant global debate about how to regulate big tech. Facebook itself has asked to be regulated. That the notion and the contours of that regulation are extremely complicated. And the regulators, even though the UK Parliament will take evidence today from Frances Haugen, they're not clear on where the liability should lie for harmful content. And then the third issue that you've got is all of these tensions around what's going on in the global economy, the inflation I mentioned, versus the decelerating growth that Facebook's talking about, many other companies are talking about, which is natural coming off the inflated growth figures they had against a pandemic period last year. So balancing all that, I don't think there's an existential one stroke of a pen that's going to do away with Facebook or any of the other big tech companies. But you will clearly see more privacy regulation around the world, and that's coming in the US in 2023. And you will clearly see some rethinking of antitrust law with relation to big tech because these companies are perceived as too powerful.
Mm. Oh, really interesting and sort of helpful to break it down into those three buckets. Richard, while I have you, keen to get your views on the broader tech sector. We've got Twitter, Alphabet, Microsoft releasing earnings tomorrow. How are you thinking about the sector here?
Well, again, I think what you'll see is the tail end of some extremely inflated growth rates against a very depressed period last year. And that's why a lot of the companies now are talking about their normalized 6 or 12-month growth rate versus, or 2-year growth rate versus 2019, because they have to sort of take last year as a real exception and the growth rates you're seeing year on year this year as an exception. The big questions will be how much growth is available for all these companies in total next year and how much they have to start competing with one another for the incremental dollars in the ad market, for example.